Good evening, Nubians and friends. It's wonderful to be back. I've really missed speaking to all of you and receiving your feedback. I've got lots of new and interesting content for you, including a new series of true crime stories for those of you that follow that genre. If you're new to the channel, I'm Taharka X. This is primarily an audio cast. I don't produce a lot of visual content, so please feel free to cook your dinner, wash dishes, and be hands free while you enjoy the audio. Thanks for dropping by. Nubians, there is a saying that if you toss a frog into a pot of boiling water, he'll jump right out. But if you put him in a pot of room temperature water and slowly turn up the heat, the frog will adjust to the rising temperature. He'll get used to it. It will adjust and adjust until it has cooked itself. Well, family, there's no doubt that we're being boiled, and no doubt that the black masses are making adjustments to our lifestyles and ways of thinking as a result. Because when you boil food, what happens? You soften it up. And the social political games of modern society have softened the black man's spine up real good. Now it's just fluffy. What is it all this lately with black men crying on TV all the time? Every time you turn around, another big black man sitting on TV leaking. Who saw Van Jones wailing on TV when they called the election for Biden? He said, quote, "It's a good day. It's easier to be a dad. It's easier to tell your kids character matters." He said more than that. I'm quoting directly, but I omitted a few sentences. Basically, what you have is a black man weeping at the feet of a white supremacist for beating another white supremacist at the polls. He says it's easier to tell his children about character, but how is he going to explain that humiliating fit of public moisture? These are our men? And it's not just the crying ones. Look at these male celebrities openly discussing their own daughter's virginity and their sex lives with their wives, just serving up black women on a platter for the whole world to gawk at and pick over. They've been boiled and seasoned with lemon zest. They're soft. Couldn't have walked 3 blocks in 1985 Detroit or 1988 Baltimore. Would have came home butt naked and ashy with dirt in their Jerry curl. Just bubbly and effervescent like Alka-Seltzer. Is this the image of the black man that we need at this point in history? And the media just gobbles it up because it reinforces the stereotype of the weak, sniveling Negro male. It soothes the fears of white supremacists. It teaches the world that we have minds like children. And now, all of a sudden, institutionalized racism is for our own good, to save us from ourselves. Tens of millions of black men have been boiled. From the coast of Ghana to the shores of Brazil, there's no denying it. They boiled down Ice Cube, and now he's tap water. Now, when you make soup, you boil different foods together so that you can blend or change the flavor. We start out as creative, inquisitive black children, and the system grinds us down to fit the standard model. Starting from toys and children's cartoons, they give you plenty of ammo for a life of self-denial and hatred of self and kind. The process of making cream of Negro soup changes what you are and creates a standardized flavor. Because the greatest threat to the status quo is not the masses. Not yet. Masses are made up of individuals, and even if you get 5 million boiled Negroes together, they'll never do anything but make a big mushy mess. The greatest threat to the status quo is the individual. They're not worried about these steamed and boiled black men walking around covered in the white man's tattoos that don't own anything. They're scared of little black boys like blues legend Robert Johnson, who had the brains to take pieces of wire and nail them across the railing of his staircase at home. That was his homemade guitar, and he taught himself to play it. Imagination and ingenuity, now that's a threat. A man that can think for himself, set a goal, and jump over hurdles to reach it. They're worried about boys like Jeremy Butway from Texas, who got accepted at all 8 Ivy League schools. They're scared of the brother that's at home giving his children algebra lessons in addition to their schoolwork and teaching them a foreign language. Nubians that truly understand and respect the power and authority of education. You mushy noodles ain't a threat. You've been boiled. You're not an innovator, you're an overcooked clone. You've been molded into the standard. When the white supremacist says black men, he means all black men. But the image he puts forward is always a sagging, walking disgrace that can barely talk and thinks it's cute, by the way. Uh, gay hat, with no education, no marketable skills, and children all over the place. That's what they want you to be. They know how to handle you, soupy. Don't you know how many decades of psychological studies have been performed on the black community? They study what we eat, what we buy, what we wear, and they study our minds extensively. They know the impact of words and of violence on the mental health of black children, so they love to hear us rapping, calling ourselves niggers and motherfuckers, and talking about murdering one another. This is exactly the kind of stressful atmosphere that keeps teddy bears and balloons on every other corner in Detroit and Chicago. You ain't fresh. Don't you think the CIA and FBI have already worked up psychological racial profiles on black people from every country on this planet? They know what you're doing. They set you up to do it. And they know what you think. They taught you to think it. And black woman, don't get to yesing too loud because you're spongy too. You've been boiled down to the standardized model as well. Self-hatred will hold you down more effectively than iron chains. They already know that. Your self-hatred is creating multi-million-dollar dynasties in China and India when you could have an empire of your own. There are plenty of sisters that know how to make hair and skin products for melanated people. Where are your farmers growing the ingredients? Where are your factories and outlets? No, that requires original thought and a level of cooperation that has completely gotten lost in the sauce. The boiled black mind has you killing your own market, bleaching your skin and covering up your locks with stuff that grew out of somebody else's scalp and comes over here in boxes full of lice. That's why they brought you here, to make millions for people that have no respect for you at all. Cream black folks are walking ATMs. Look at all the money attorney Lisa Bloom and her mother Gloria Allred alone have made off the soup. So now that you've been boiled, now what? Now it's time to feed the beast known as white supremacy. And the cremification process produces a bizarre yet convenient side effect. We begin to self-destruct, to long to feed ourselves and our children to the beast. Imagine a snack that would just jump right into your mouth. But we do, and it's a very effective form of social control. Modern black culture breaks its neck coming up with new ways to feed that beast, to have us in the backs of these police cars, strung out dancing for change in front of the liquor store, lying in the gutter bleeding waiting on an ambulance, and setting up GoFundMes for funerals. Whose interest does that serve? But that's just it. Because we've been in a pot for hundreds of years, and when you cook food too long, you cook the vitamins out of it. You cook what is valuable out of it. What has been cooked out of you, black man and black woman? What is now missing from you that would make you just hand yourself over to the beast? Willingly, happily. They used to say that Africans wanted to be slaves, that they lined up, put the chains on themselves, and danced their way onto the ships. They would say that they danced all the way over here from Africa. Of course, none of that was true. The closest thing there was to dancing on those ships was when one African was forced to bang a drum while the others jumped up and down to keep their muscles from atrophying since they were packed below deck, lying on their sides for days at a time. So they would march them up onto the deck, spray them with seawater, and make them jump around. So nobody was dancing during the middle passage, but you're dancing on deck now, glad to feed the beast. It's cute. Feed your children to the beast. You indoctrinate their minds with this demonic rap and reality so garbage. But what was the last book you read as a family? Crickets. So again, what is it that's been cooked out of you, Nubians? Well, what is it that makes you different from a ladybug, a cactus, or a giraffe? Your logical mind, your sense of reason. They didn't even want you to learn how to read for fear of you developing your logical mind. A giraffe's got to eat leaves where he can find them, but the logical mind figures out what a seed is. Then you can plant a whole grove of trees and have leaves all year round. The logical mind can also figure out what a human seed does. So all this accidental pregnancy baby daddy BS should have been eradicated long ago. But that would mean taking responsibility and of owning our own behavior. That's too logical, and they done cooked your brains. Same thing with these police. Knowing the facts about police brutality should make all black men act like we know. Have as few encounters with them as possible. Have that license, registration, and insurance card ready. If you have warrants, go to court and clear them up. Handle your business like a man. This is, by the way, not about blaming the victim, but about taking agency over our own lives to the greatest extent possible. Logical action on the part of the individual is the only place for us to start. Anything else is doomed to failure. Reason, Nubians, it will dry that moisture and take the zest right out of you. Because the healthy Nubian mind is most beautiful and infinitely amazing. Black folks, this is not an issue of intelligence. We know how intelligent and talented black people are, and so does the beast. You think the whole world is out there breaking its neck to copy you because you're stupid? Of course not. But there is a difference between being intelligent and being smart. Intelligence is a reservoir inside of you. It's your own inner library. Smart is how you live. I'm Taharka X. Good night.